God, there's a lot of people chatting it up here. Sorry we're a little delayed, but we've made it. Hello, and welcome to ClickerBait, the Last of Us TV show, where 3 gamers come together to unpack the HBO show. And of course, we have one thing in common, The Last of Us, both the game and the TV show. So if you also love The Last of Us in both aspects, you've come to the right place. And what an episode this is going to be. We are diving in to the very first episode of season 2. I don't know what that was. It's like, is what's her face? Warrior Princess, Xena.
Whoa, Xena mentioned.
No, Xena.
Wow, good pull.
Yeah, I try. And FYI, if you didn't know, every Monday night we are going to be recapping each and every episode of season 2 right here at twitch.tv/JKGamesPodcast. Now, tonight's episode, like I said, we're going to go do a spoiler-free recap first. I just want to make sure I get that across to everybody. Spoiler-free recap of this episode, but we will be following into like comparison to the game and the story a little bit later. Deep dive in all the way into wherever the Titanic is. That's how deep we're going to go.
Oh, yeah.
Trying. And of course, like we'll definitely put up a spoiler wall when we get to that moment, just to make sure that, you know, if we got anyone that's just watching the show here this evening, I don't know if anyone in the chat, everyone looks familiar in the chat.
Yeah.
Heroic Headgear, we got you up in here. Welcome back, Dan. Good show. I see you being a good show. And let's see who else we got. Rabbit128. I've definitely seen Rabbit up here a few times. Jackal194, hello, welcome. All of you, if you don't play the video game, we will put up a spoiler wall and when we get to that segment here in a little bit.
But you should play the video game.
Yeah, and so just to clarify, we're going to be spoiling episode 1 of the show. We're just not going to go past that until later. Just to clarify it, if anyone's like...
Oh yeah, obviously, if you haven't watched the episode yet, you are definitely in the wrong place.
Go back.
Now, come back to us when you're done.
Yeah.
Because we are going to deep dive the heck out of this first episode. Now that we got all that out of the way, before I get into the rest of the information I have to share and talk about, the second part of JK Games, and she, from what I hear, also knows how to use a golf club, and she also is down to farm each and every week. Kayla, hello. How are you?
You know, I'm doing great, Jerica. I have a lot of notes. I am what you might call a type A clicker baby, because I have many a note. Whoa. And I have color-coded notes with my highlighters. And I'm ready to go. Quick backstory. Basically, I didn't get to watch it live last night. I had to watch it this morning. It was my brother, a friend of the show, Coleman's not first birthday. Oh my God. It was his 25th birthday, but we were out and I was being a good friend and sister and being out with them. But I was like, the whole time we were at like the bar or wherever we were at an arcade, I was like tweaking, like, oh my God, I gotta get home, watch The Last of Us. I need to be able to like participate in the conversation. And I was like, okay, I gotta watch it as soon as possible. So I watched it this morning, like super early this morning. And I was like, I went dark for like 12 hours off the internet. So
she's gone dark, folks.
I'm here. I'm ready to go. And I'm so excited.
Kayla, when you say your brother Coleman's, is that a Southern way of saying coal mines? Is this an official reveal that coal mines is your brother?
No, Coal Mines is not my brother, but his name is Coleman, and he is a friend of the show and fan.
Well, I'm a little glad, only because of those raunchy things Coal Mines was saying in the chat pre-show. You dirty dog.
Negative.
And then, of course, speaking of dirty dogs, Patrick, welcome back.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're here for another show.
I mean, look, at this point, you can't get rid of me. You've given me an excuse to talk about The Last of Us for as much time as I fucking well please. So here we are. Can't wait. I've watched this episode twice already. I don't have nearly as many notes as Kayla written, but they're up here, brother. I do have some notes on my phone, on my mobile device. But yeah, very excited to jump in and talk about future days.
Ooh. which we'll get to this in a minute. Did we hear that song at all in that episode?
No.
No, which is something I would like to talk about.
Oh,
Okay.
I have thoughts.
I'm so glad. Oh, so many thoughts.
How long does it take us to fight in this episode?
I don't know if we will. I don't think we will. I don't know. That's the theme of this going to be the whole season for me. I feel like it's just a big, I don't know what's happening.
And for the record, none of us have talked to each other yet. And that's kind of like what we do here too, is like, we have a like no policy of like discussing with each other like details. If you are in our Discord, which segue, you should join our Discord. You can find it on dropindropoutpod.com to join and to participate in the conversation. We are going to be doing a separate thread in Discord for each episode where you can like live discuss and like not be afraid of spoilers and things like that. What's that?
Oh, get fucked, Rabbit. Get fucked, you
Rabbit's
piece of
trying
shit. Who's not in uniform now, you fuck?
I was ready.
Well, you should also join that in case you might see future this available somewhere. Interesting. But yeah, so you should check us out there where we'll be discussing things, all that fun things there. You can find our socials where we will be posting as well. And sometimes we do fun story and things on Instagram, like our trivia, which we will be revealing later who our trivia winners are, but you'll have to wait until later on in the episode for that. Yes, we did just tease. I'm so sorry. And one last plug. You might have missed last week. We had our friend High Score Weekly, who's in the chat. He was also on to talk about our final predictions. You can still go to langleyteafarms.com and use the code ClickerBait. He does have a tea company where he sells a cordyceps tea. It's the ClickerBait official tea. And you can use code ClickerBait for 15% off?
I think it's 15%.
Off?
Oh, shit.
remember.
I told him I was going to be drinking the tea on stream tonight, and I totally forgot about it.
Oh, that's okay.
Wait a second. Y'all got your tea?
I just told him. Oh, yeah.
Where the fuck
Yours
is my tea?
I think it's delayed.
I know, he told me. That's a bit. He told me.
But it's a mix of oh, sorry, I ruined your bit. But it's a mix of like, it's got cordyceps and like the actual mushrooms. Don't worry, you won't get infected. And blueberry. It is very good, and you should definitely check it out. And because you get a special discount, why would you not check it out? So that's the last of my plug. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for all those plugs. I don't know how often you can say that on stream, but I just did.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But yeah, like I was saying earlier, we will be like doing like a quick recap of the episode. Here's like the agenda. This is a new era of ClickerBait episodes. Now we got an episode to watch and recap. So what does that look like for each episode? It could evolve, it could change over time, but the current goal for us this evening is to do a recap, which Patrick will do in just a moment. Just like a quick summary of the episode. This part's really scary just to start. I didn't want to do it because I know I was gonna ramble on for like 2 hours and we wouldn't even get into our thoughts. It would just be me recapping the episode. So thank you, Patrick, for taking on a quick recap. After that, we're going to dive into like initial impressions, a spoiler-free deep dive of the episode. We'll also maybe talk about who was the hottest character this episode.
God, I have thoughts. Oh, God. I'm in love.
And then after that, we'll go into where we'll post like, hey, spoiler wall for events after this episode. For anyone that's played the games, those are the spoilers we're talking about from the game, the second game. We will be comparing it to the game and start predicting where things might be headed after, or starting with next week's episode.
Man.
Excellent. And then last but not least, Kayla, you got the community section where we'll be revealing the winners of our trivia event. Whoa! There's a wheel I think that we're gonna spin, which is wild. We got a wheel on our show now.
Yeah. So the wheel. Talk about a fucking pandemic. That wheel is making its way everywhere right now.
Let's see. Okay, cool. Patrick, I will hand it over to you if you want to recap us.
I would love to. So I'm going to go through this quite fast. I'm basically just going to roll through the entire episode. So we start with the very end of the first game. We see the next beat right after Joel lies to Ellie about what happens. We then cut to Salt Lake, see a group of youngsters around a bunch of Firefly graves outside the hospital. Their leader threatens they want to kill Joel for what they did, but one of them convinces her to go to Seattle to regroup with other former Fireflies. We cut 5 years later. Get a lot of Jackson business. We get UFC Ellie doing some jujitsu.
So pretty.
Yeah.
Jackson is so beautiful.
Oh, God, it's so beautiful. We get Joel fixing some breakers, like speaking of blueprints, everybody should play blueprints. Chats with Dina a bit about his beef. I know, gotta get the plug. Chatting about his beef with Ellie. Tommy teaching Ellie how to snipe. Maria and Joel talking about plans to build Jackson and how it needs to be quicker. They're letting in too many refugees, according to Joel. Joel in therapy with Gail, Eugene's wife, new character. Gail tries to get to the bottom of what Joel's hiding. Joel apparently killed Eugene. Ellie and Dina go on patrol. The dance is that night. Ellie and Dina take out some clickers. Ellie falls through and comes across a stalker for the first time. Gets bit. I hope she's immune.
On the tummy.
A little tummy bite. Ellie and Dina tell the council about the new type of infected. Ellie journals some about Dina and how she doesn't want to fuck this up. Joel and Ellie have another brief chat. I wrote awkward. Joel takes her guitar to restring. Then we get the dance scene from the end of the fucking game. Basically, beat for beat. Ellie embarrasses Joel for trying to help her in front of the whole town. They kiss. Not Ellie and Joel. Ellie and Dina. All that stuff.
That's not in the game.
Yeah, oh, come on. Ellie heads home, doesn't talk to Joel on the porch. Fucking thank God. We see tendrils from the pipe from earlier. And
twice.
Then
we got it twice.
We got two.
Twice.
Yeah. Before the scene with Joel and Dina, they show the pipe at that point, and then we see it again, and there's some tendrils in them hills. And then we see Abby and her crew arriving outside Jackson, looking on with all their fucking rifles. And then that's the end of the game. End of the show. End of the episode.
Yeah. If only it was that simple, Patrick.
If
There's
only.
so much. If only it was that simple. That's why I'm telling you, I want that Jackson, The Last of Us farm sim.
Yeah.
And we can just pretend that nothing else bad ever happens.
Yeah. There's no more clickers. We're just farming. That's it.
Yeah, we're just having a great time. Yep.
We're just farming and fucking. I don't know why I wanted to say that.
Oh, I do. I know why.
God. Oh, it's Liddy on this ClickerBait episode.
It is.
Huh?
I saw someone say Liddy titties, so I'm trying to bring the tit and the lit.
Yeah.
The lit and the
DTF's
tit.
in the chat.
Exclamation point Liddy titty.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dan Good Show. You're a knower. Maybe
Patrick,
your luck.
Yeah.
Will be
You
lit.
are the fastest recapper in the biz.
I was told to have a fast recap.
Yeah, that was
beautiful.
record breaking.
60 seconds on the clock.
Ow.
Hey, whoa! Could never be me or Jerica. That's why we have you here, Patrick.
No, I instead of just asking him, I just put it up. I was like, hey, who wants to do this? Knowing that he probably wanted to do it, or at least
you dirty
find
dog.
Look, I could have
entertaining.
gone a whole lot longer, but
We will. Don't worry.
but we will.
We will.
That's what we're going to do for the
will.
next 7 hours.
Literally, yeah. I could do a 24-hour The Last of Us season 2 episode 1 podcast.
Correct.
God, can't wait.
I can't wait to hear how y'all felt about this episode with our initial impressions. Oh my
Let's
God.
go.
I would love to hear each of yours. And Kayla, if you want to kick us off, like, what was your gut reaction without going too deep? Like, gut reaction, did the episode land in a good spot emotionally for you? Were there any pacing issues? But yeah, what was your gut knee-jerk reaction to this episode?
Oh gosh. Okay. So I loved it. I think that it landed with a great first initial episode, like feeling that I would hope to have, because I don't know if you remember, if you've seen our season 1 recap, which if you haven't, you should go watch it. Because it was really helpful and Patrick had a lovely slideshow.
Stop it.
One of my favorite episodes from last season was the first episode. And I think that has to do a lot with the content and the pacing and all sorts of things. I think it was paced excellently. I do think that they made a lot of risky choices potentially that I personally, just to give you a little bit of a sneak peek, loved some of the things that they did. There's some things I still have critiques for, but overall, I think it really landed. I think my favorite scene is probably going to be what everyone else's is, was the dance scene. I thought it was so well done. But I also really loved the scene with Ellie and Dina and their patrol that they went on. And especially when they go off on their own and they're exploring. And I love this small little scene where they're like communicating silently with each other, like the when they're doing that scene. I loved that scene. But I think there's a lot of memorable moments in this one. So I could see like a lot of people enjoying it. I do think, like, as we've talked about at length with this podcast already, we're getting very granular because of how much we love the franchise. And so as we progress further, we have our critiques, we have our commentary. It's only because of how much we love it. And that my gut reaction is that I really enjoyed this episode. I think it's a strong start to get us hooked in. I think we got a lot of surprising things. There were some things missing, but I think overall I don't know if I'm ready to rate it. I might be ready to rate it at the end after we discuss a little bit further.
Okay.
I don't know. It's hard to say right now, but I don't think I'm ready to rate it quite yet. But I don't think there's any pacing issues for me. I actually think it's moving pretty well, but it is hard to know because they're doing it so differently than they did the game.
Yeah.
Like the pacing is so different that it's hard to say like where they're going to end up at the end of the 7 episodes because of where they are now. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
That makes total sense.
That's mine.
I think, and you brought up a good point, Kayla, with just talking about the pacing and some of the choices they're making with this first episode. As far as like, at the top of the episode, I was like, this whole season might be a big I don't know for me, because every probably like 10 to 15 minutes, anytime we had like a new scene, I was sort of like had whiplash of like, what the hell? Where's that? Oh, this is from the game, but they're using this in a different way here, or they're putting this in a different chronological order compared to the game. So I just got to be okay with some of those things. I'm sort of just answering, I guess, for myself real quick. But my gut reaction was, oh, this is still something I couldn't predict. And I didn't know what the next scene, where it was going to take me, what characters were going to be involved, were we going to get to this moment. The whole episode, so cool. I felt that way, except the dance. Like the dance, was pretty much, I knew what to expect. But even after the dance scene, I'm like, were they going to have that conversation yet? Here's the deal. I am, and yours on your side too, Kayla, if you agree with me, I love all the creative liberties they're taking so far.
I do too.
I think it's fun.
I really do. I think it's fun. We never know what to expect next.
Yeah, that's why I'm sort of a fan of it, and just the moments we got to
sorry, I'm interrupting you. I have no idea what you're saying. I just lost audio for some reason, but that's a me problem, not a you problem. So let me figure that out. Sorry.
Shout out Jake Twitch and Raiders with 19 people. Hello.
Holy smokes. Welcome to the party.
Yeah, we're still in spoiler free for the game territory, but we will be spoiling episode 1 of this season of The Last of Us. So. Hopefully Patrick is okay. Okay, there he goes. I think you left off Jerica saying that you were in uncharted territory.
Yeah, it's most of my life, honestly. But because of, you might think the opposite with this episode, making a lot of changes and us not knowing what's next would give it a negative score for me, but it didn't. It's the opposite. I'm gonna land on a solid 5 out of 5 me on this episode. I love how bold they're gonna be. I only really have one harsher critique. The rest of it, the whole episode, other than this one part, and we'll get to it later, everything else was perfect. I guess I shouldn't give it a perfect score, but that segment's so short, I'm still gonna give it a perfect score.
5 out of 5. That doesn't mean it's a perfect episode. It is just a perfect score.
Yeah.
True.
And it's always interesting to look at it retrospectively after we're done with the season and then rank him as well. But I still don't know what I want to rate it. I might reveal at the end. But
yeah, I put that in the notes as optional. So Kayla, you can do whatever you want to do.
We're all consenting adults here. If you don't consent to share your score, we won't do anything.
I'm just going to show up on your doorstep, with a knife, with a switchblade.
Okay.
Saying,
we are not consenting adults, I guess.
Squanky said Patrick also rocking DT770s because he's a man of culture.
Yes, my buds fucked me, so I went back to what I know will always work, which is these sweet, sweet, comfy cushions.
Wow.
So I'm back. Sorry
Incredible.
about
Oh, it was perfect
Okay.
timing.
that. Oh yeah.
Patrick,
Yes.
what do you think about that first episode?
I think The Last of Us TV show is at its best when I don't know what's coming next. As someone who's played the games a zillion times, I think this is one of the best episodes of the show so far. I loved it until I didn't. And there were, not until I didn't. I loved it other than when I didn't. Like, quick, like high level thing. I really don't like how they opened the season. I really don't like seeing Abby and her crew.
That was mine too.
Really don't like that. And for so many reasons, like performance reasons, pacing reasons, story structure reasons. Very concerned, but still giving them space to prove me wrong. But basically everything else I loved. Like I loved all the new Joel and Dina stuff. I loved all of the extra things that they threw in throughout. I feel like they're really making it a big deal. And it's very important for them to flesh out Jackson as its own character and like bringing in all these new voices and things. And I think I was shocked at some of the timeline changes more than just the Abby stuff, but like having 90% of the dance segment that we get about an hour before the game is over in episode 1, I thought was a really shocking
Crazy. We did not predict this.
But I loved it. Like I think that was one of those ones where like, oh, this I get. This I understand. Like the way that I don't know. This episode, I'm kind of all over the place right now, but this episode did what I think the first season didn't do well a lot of the time, which is give us those like everyday type interactions between characters and like give us context about what's going on with Joel and Ellie and give us context about Joel and Dina's relationship and give us context between Maria and Joel's relationship. Like these things that I really yearned for last season that we didn't get. And so it's like, I can't believe that we're only getting 6 more of these.
I
but
know.
overall,
it's
yeah,
tough.
I think, yeah, this is, having watched it twice now, this is certainly one of the stronger episodes of the 10 that we've now gotten, in my opinion. So yeah, I would also give this a cool 5 out of 5 for me.
Woo!
Hell yeah.
Y'all
Hell
are
yeah.
amazing. Oh, and also, do we get an episode next week because it's Easter, or are
We
they
do.
skipping?
Yeah.
We do.
Okay, thank God. Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God. Oh,
They don't care
Okay.
about that Easter bunny. They're like,
I know. Well,
they're
I
like,
mean,
kick down the door, give me your chocolate. I don't know what that means.
I want to bring in something from the chat real fast. I might be getting ahead of myself, but
No.
Dan Goodshow, he listened to the podcast with Troy that he does with Craig and Neil, which is the HBO podcast. I also listened to that.
Me too.
He said, I liked their rationale for bringing in Abby sooner. He said they felt like not being able to play as Abby necessitated a lot of Abby details early. I don't agree with that.
Yo,
Like I don't like that. I feel like that doesn't work for me. That reasoning personally.
yeah, out the gate, I wish they also didn't do it. But what made it, I'm going to go ahead and talk about it here real quick before it leaves my mind.
Is
since
it
we're on this
spoilery
topic
or
of
no?
it. No, it's not. It's
Okay,
about that first episode. I don't know. The acting and the writing for their interaction was so bad to me.
It was
some of the
bad.
people in the
Not
chat
good.
said that.
Listen.
I think it was, I forget who, Rabbit, I think.
Patrick, pretend you're Owen
Yeah.
and I'm Abby.
Yeah.
And I'm not a professional actress.
Sure.
So I'm not making fun of Caitlin here.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just maybe the lines are. I am a little bit. Say, what did you say?
What did you say?
Slowly. I'm gonna kill him. Slowly. It wasn't like that, but but it was
Yeah.
like it was very strange.
And we
to
know
me.
she can act. She's an amazing actress.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. But
I feel like it would have been so much stronger to only show us Abby at the end of the episode coming through the trees and us be like, oh, what's this threatening presence outside Jackson a night that they're partying and dancing? What is this new thing? I felt like it was so, I think there's something to be said about trusting an audience and trusting an audience to understand the story you're telling. And the opening scene, to me, felt like they don't trust their audience. They don't trust that they will be able to convey who Abby is. So they had to say, all right, y'all, someone's dead. I'm pissed. I want to kill Joel. It was what she says. It's like, okay, well, fucking A. Now, and like, I feel like there are people that don't, I don't want to say that. That's getting too spoilery. I'll save that for later. But I feel like it's doing a disservice to people who don't know the story. Like, you're giving them too many things already, in my opinion.
So a couple things before we move on. High Score Weekly. Thank you guys also for being so active in the chat. We have a very active chat this evening. High Score Weekly said it wasn't as much her as the side people that seemed cheesy to him. Also, hi, Matt from hello, and Campo63 said, I'm not sold on the Abby casting after that first episode. I hope that changes over time. And I think we're going to dive in probably now or soonish to spoiler territory.
Not yet. Okay, We're almost there. We're almost there.
Okay.
Yeah. I just want to make sure. Let me get back to the note. I can't remember. Let's see.
Swanky says, I get not liking how they did it, but I do think they had to introduce Abby in this episode. I think I think just showing her face would have been enough. I think, because next episode they showed us that they're like her and her crew were going to be in the lodge talking. I bet they could have delivered anything that they told us in the first scene in that scene. Personally,
to me, it's just I'm so sorry, but
no.
This is not spoilers for the game, but I'm just telling you now that like the way that they introduce her in the game is so much better, in my opinion. Sure. And it's just like, I feel like you could have pulled that off, but I'm not totally off on the way that they did it. I'll explain more later. Like, I don't hate it, but I think it's so much better the other way. What
it was just not good. It just wasn't good writing for their introduction. Like, they need a whole episode. And even if they were shown at the beginning, it was just like the dialogue just didn't make it. It just felt bad.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like they were the only survivors in the entire hospital and talking about everyone that died. And it was just very blanket statement, revenge talk.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just not connected to her enough yet to even want to hate. Like, I don't know. I'm not a writer, but this is just something about it seemed too harsh and too aggressive out the gate.
For not knowing who they are. And that, here's the thing. I think you could have done that exact same scene and not told us that she wanted to kill Joel.
Sure.
And just left it at that. I had a problem. That's what I specifically had a problem with, is knowing her intentions immediately, because I just loved not having that information.
Correct. I think it's such a different experience not having known that, because like, I want to talk about the game moment, but I won't. But it's like this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm taking us in a circle. I don't want to take us in a circle, but I do think in terms of like starting in the deep dive discussion, I think this is kind of the first thing to deep dive, which makes sense. When I first saw the giraffes, I thought we were going to get a different scene from,
I did too.
Which I thought was like, oh, now that's interesting. Starting with, if that was the introduction to Abby, which I won't, I can save more details for later if we don't want to spoil that moment from the game. And then to see it be a like new content, I was like, oh, that's an interesting choice.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool.
It was nice to see the group, but yeah, I yearn for, so I'm excited for next episode to see more from them, because I want to, get a different taste in my mouth than what I have.
Oh, I have thoughts on what the next episode is.
Same.
Tell you guys what I think.
All right, now that we talked about our, least favorite moment, anyone else have a favorite scene, specific point they want to, talk about before we go further?
I know Kayla mentioned the dance scene. Obviously, the dance scene was so good.
Incredible.
Like, basically
It's
beat for
tit
beat,
for tat.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
But for me, I feel like the two standout scenes for me from this episode. The first one that we've kind of talked a little bit about, and like Swanky mentioned in the chat, let me see. They were much more efficient and artful in the next two scenes to introduce Jesse and Dina, and also Ellie and Joel catch up. So one of my favorite scenes was the Joel and Dina conversation.
Yes, which we don't get any of that.
Right,
That's
and
all
like,
brand new.
Yeah, there's some like in the game we get some comments from Dina about her relationship with Joel, but we never see it. And so it was really nice to see that. And like, and like with the fake out when she comes in, he's like, "Hey kiddo." And then it's Dina. It's like, oh, that was fun. But I thought that whole thing was really nice. And then the therapy scene, that I loved the therapy scene with Gail. I mean, Catherine O'Hara is just so talented, but I love what they're doing with this character, and like the way in which they kind of rework. This is like another thing that I love when the show does so well. They kind of rework the original. I keep doing this. I'm bringing in game stuff, and I know that's supposed to be its own segment. But like the opening scene of the game with when Joel says he saved her, which is what he says in this scene of the so kind of reworking it a little bit to have a completely new context, but still getting that base message across. I think was so interesting to me, and the way, having Gail just address that apparently Joel killed Eugene and she hates him for it. I'm like, okay, that's so interesting. And I love that they don't explain it. And so like basically they're like, at some point you will get an explanation, I'm sure. But there was so much just like good shit in that scene of like, really precise storytelling of, okay, there is conflict here, but they're making the choice not to address that right now because there's more important things to address. So like now as the audience member, I really want to see what that other conflict is. And so I can't wait to come back and see what that is. But yeah, I thought that whole scene, I was so kind of enwrapped in, and I can't wait to see more Gail.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that Joel paid her in weed.
Yeah.
It was so funny. I died and I was like, oh my God, that's hilarious. But yeah, I also like that scene. And then I mentioned it earlier too, but I love the scene when Ellie and Dina are on patrol. And we get them going off on their own and kind of doing their little side mission where they see the stalker for the first time, which by the way, terrifying.
Oh my God. The way like when you see her like crawling in the back. Oh,
horrifying.
So good.
And I love that scene. I thought it was really well done, and it sets up like I'm giggling and kicking my feet about Dina and Ellie already. I'm just saying.
God.
I was like, oh my gosh, that's so cute. Which we'll dive more into that later, but I think the way that they have already teed them up in a way, which no spoilers, like I think that the way that they introduced Ellie and their interactions are so good. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
I agree. I think my favorite part of this whole episode was Ellie and Dina, and specifically, Dina's relationship with Joel.
Yeah.
They did such a great job giving direction to, or I guess giving lines and direction to Ellie and Dina's characters for the show. The back and forth that they had, even the conversation Dina has with Joel, like you can tell, even though it's been 2 years, and if you haven't played the game, you could tell immediately that these two characters have been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
Even though we just like literally met her.
Yeah.
Like, and I told Audrey last night, that's my girlfriend, we were watching it together. I was like, Isabella Merced, right?
Yep.
I think that's how I pronounced her name. Gonna carry the season. I think
she's gonna carry.
She's gonna carry.
And I'm not saying. Listen, and I'm even really impressed with Bella Ramsey with Ellie this time, this go around. Exactly, to me, like if anyone's bitching and moaning about Bella being Ellie, like no, this is Ellie.
Yeah.
Like never, to me, sounded just like Ellie, bringing the personality, the reactions, the anger that we see from Ellie later in the episode at the end of the dance with Joel.
Yeah,
like those scenes just. Oh,
I totally agree.
Good. Saw the face and we'll get to the dance here in a little bit, but the eye contact and the movement, like that made this episode the 5 out of 5 for me.
Yeah.
That's what made it perfect, were their interactions.
High Score Weekly has a great point about the nonverbal chemistry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is, and that's amongst everyone, not just Ellie and Dina, but like Dina and Joel, Ellie and Joel. I think like the way that they do like the storytelling with just their interactions without even words is so good.
Yeah. It's, that's the reason why I love Arcane.
Yeah.
If you ever, we don't have to know about League of Legends, but Arcane's really good because they do a lot of say a lot without any words, and that was a lot in this episode. Oh God!
He said, "Remove the face from my screen. My sleep paralysis."
Oh yeah, I forgot the stalker's been up on our screen for a while.
She's bad. She's scary. But yeah, I feel like Isabella Merced is electric as Dina. I feel like for the first time we meet her, to go toe to toe with the internet's father, Pedro Pascal, and me be like, give me more of her, please. That was so good. It's like, I feel like such a feat in and of itself. But yeah,
she's like,
you're
in therapy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just love that, like knee jerk reaction, like the humor that they're so friendly. And I love that so much.
Yeah. And I don't know, I feel like she brings almost like a different kind of charisma than game Dina that I really like. That she is like a little more bubbly and a little more like more of a foil to Ellie, like, because Ellie's so like broody and like, oh, I just want to kill things. And she's just like here. It seems like for a good time, which I love.
I do love that. And I think we have some like respectful criticism from Rabbit128 in the chat that said that they feel like besides Gale, dialogue seemed a little bit dumbed down for them. Example being disposable in the beginning, listen to your commanding officer. I think I could see where you're coming from, but I feel like so much of what this franchise isn't, even the show and the game itself, like it's not all about the like narrative dialogue and more about like what you're seeing, like the whole storyline. But I guess I can see that in a way. Like Ellie is very broody. She is very much like angry, and we'll talk about that later, much more angry than game Ellie. But I don't know if I felt that it was necessarily dumbed down.
Yeah, I don't think I did. But that's okay.
We accept all types of opinions here on ClickerBait.
We do.
Dan Gacho says she has the Riz for sure.
She has
W-Riz for Dina in the chat.
Yeah. I just thought about another scene like I wanted to sort of highlight too. We're talking about like, you know, their interaction and like great chemistry between the two. Just adding on, I felt like I was in the video game when they were going into the market or the grocery store.
Yeah.
And like they step in, or even before they go in, like Dina's like, hey, or Ellie's like, let's go in. I think there's only one. And then Dina's like, no, hold on. And like, you can tell like, even though once again, it's been 5 year time jump and we just met Dina, you can tell that they both are really experienced and they both have their different like skill sets and they've worked together. They've went on missions together multiple times. So like just seeing them jump into that action mode and still being 19, young and goofy, that's some of the stuff, like some of that kind of interaction we just don't see like in the game really. So it's fun to see that. And then them just like pointing at the bottle when they hop in there, like trying to be quiet because they can't talk because they don't want the clicker to be like clicking at them and coming at them and biting them. Yeah. And like Dina points at the bottle, like do all this, cause a distraction. And then like, I just felt like I was in the game and on permadeath, grounded, whatever mode and limited resources. How are you going to approach this situation? And then even when Dina like goes around the corner to go on the opposite side, I just felt I feel like in the game, like Dina, when you're with Dina, like literally in game with this whole scene. I love that. That was so good.
Also, one of my favorite lines from the episode was right before that scene when Ellie and Dina go off like ahead of the group and then they come up and it's like, oh, hi, here comes fun when the other three join them.
Yeah.
It's like, that was really good.
It's so quick. It's so quick witted and like just, it might be simple delivery too, but like, it's just, they're doing great. Knowing those characters.
I can't wait to talk about this later when we compare it to the game.
And which we should do.
Yeah.
We're working towards it. We're working towards it. I promise. Let me get back to my notes. So sorry, I leave it. Okay. Any other standout lines? WTF moments?
I think the only other one in terms of like deep diving for this episode before we start bringing in game content stuff, maybe this is like a little bit of a segue, but I'll keep it like, and I'll only be talking about this scene. I thought I was a bit shocked in a good way about how much more the Ellie Joel dialogue affected me in the show versus the game. And I think part of it is like them being real people. Part of it is, I think, Bella and Pedro, but like specifically in the dance scene when she's like, I don't need your fucking help. I was like so deeply hurt by that watching. Whereas like in the game, because it happens much later in the game, so like you have a lot more context. So like it still carries a lot of weight in the game. But I feel like in the show, all of the Ellie Joel kind of headbutting just carried a bit more of a punch watching it as in the show versus in the game for me.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that is also like one kind of quick plug too is I'm planning on trying to continue to keep playing the game alongside watching the show. So I played about 3 hours of gameplay this morning. It's also been a long time since I've played The Last of Us Part 2. Like since it released, I haven't replayed. So I wanted to replay to have it fresh. And in the game, I had to watch a cutscene because again, this is at the end of the game. Because it was so funny. I was texting them today and I was like, I have been playing 3 hours of the game and I haven't seen any of the episodes so far. So I had to watch some cutscenes, but in the game, it does play out a little bit differently. And Joel's a little bit less aggressive as well in the game than the show. But no, this hit me really hard too.
Yeah.
It got me.
I feel like, especially like with the therapy scene and with this and Joel talking to Dina and Joel talking to Maria and Joel talking to Gail, I feel like this is the like Emmy redemption tour for Pedro Pascal. I feel like they're giving him a lot of really good shit to be on screen a bit more with that kind of stuff, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Especially like putting Tommy's son Benji in his lap in that one scene. I was like, oh, you guys are really just
what I wouldn't give to be Tommy's son in that moment. You know what I'm saying? But as a 33-year-old man, not as a 5-year-old.
He looks so good. Oh my God, he looks so good this whole episode. But the glasses.
Don't. We'll get to it in just a second. I think that's next here. Unless y'all, the next part. We're just going to talk about the hottest characters before we dive into like.
I mean, do we have to?
Dina, Joel, next.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We don't.
I mean, that's the same for me too. I had some slideshows if we just wanted to need another visual aid. Speaking of like Joel with the glasses, I do have a picture of him with glasses. Okay, we got Ellie and Dina there. Perfect. Sorry if my photos are a little off center. I did this really quickly.
Hey, that's okay.
But listen, I don't know if this was in the game or not, but did Joel ever have glasses in the game?
I don't know, but the cunty little glasses.
Fuck, that is so good. I don't remember. He might have. I think we might have seen Joel with glasses briefly.
God.
In my 3 hours of replay game, I haven't seen glasses.
Yeah.
Which, never mind.
So we got Joel, Tommy. God, yeah. Once again, I'd still let him wash my truck too.
Sure.
Jackal 194 said, was he digitally aged for this? I don't think so.
No, that was makeup.
It's kind of old. Oh,
he's also kind of old. He's in his 40s, but that was makeup.
Is he in his 40s? I think he's in his 50s, Patrick.
Pedro Pascal's in his 50s?
I'm pretty sure he is, Patrick.
Oh, he just turned 50, actually.
Pedro Pascal.
I believe he just turned 50, like 5 days ago or something.
Okay, no, he's not. He's still in his prime.
But yeah, they definitely aged him up a bit. And there were times when the makeup looked immaculate, and there were times when the makeup looked like he was about to go out trick-or-treating for like, very brief moments, but.
My brother Coleman, the actual Coleman, not Coal Mines, in the chat, said not me getting a The Last of Us Season 2 ad before joining.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
Welcome. Hello.
Listen. Stalker lady.
Oh, she looked cool. The nose.
That's a pass for me.
Sexy to me.
That's a pass.
Smash your pass.
Definitely my type.
There is a new hole, but that's a pass for me. God, that was raunchy.
You know what they say about having a new hole?
Yeah.
I don't know yet. I thought it would come to me quickly. It didn't. I don't know.
Yeah.
Chat, you can help me out, but maybe not, because that might not be appropriate.
Oh my God.
What about Jesse?
Yeah,
How
young
y'all feeling
Manzino
about
also looking very good. I don't think because he was in Beef, which is a Netflix show, which is good. I don't think I quite clocked how tall he was in that show.
Yeah.
But brother's got he's tall with some shoulders.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. And of course, we have Maria here.
AKA Tara from
We
True
stand.
Blood.
Yeah, True
We stand.
Blood. Yeah. Employee of the month.
July. Yep.
Yeah. Just
That's
wanted
my
to
birth
mention.
month.
Yeah.
Cancers
Also,
represent.
Kansas
hot
represent.
dog. What do we think about Owen here? Hot or not?
He's kind of a pick-me boy.
Sure, giving big pick me energy. I've heard mixed reports on Owen. I don't know that Owen does much for me, but I do think he's more handsome than Game Owen.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yes.
I would
Yeah.
agree.
Game Owen
Yeah,
sort of gave me Spud vibes. Like
Oh,
he's a
yeah.
potato.
big Spud
No,
vibes.
no offense, you just spudding around too
Yep.
much.
Yeah.
We got Abby, not
I
as
mean,
muscular, but I
no.
like that. I love when a woman can, instead of, she doesn't have to use muscle, she can use vengeance as armor.
Yeah.
That's hot. To some
Sure.
people.
I think here is a good place for me to say that when listening to the podcast with Troy Baker and company, I think they're a really good pull that they had, because even if you're here and you haven't played the game, you probably know and have heard the discourse around like she is much less like physically muscular than she is in the game. It's a very big selling point, or not selling point. That's a wrong way to say it, but like a big distinction between the game and the show. But interesting thing as to why that they said in the podcast was that they wanted it to feel different when you were playing as Abby versus Ellie. And they didn't necessarily see that as important in the show and really wanted it to be like just an actor that they felt represented the character really well. So I thought that was an interesting tidbit.
So far, I strongly, vehemently disagree with that choice. So far, I'm willing to change.
Interesting.
I'm willing to find that Abby can be waifish and tiny. However, I take issue so far. I just don't buy it. I don't buy. But like again, we've seen her very little so far.
Yeah.
But
They're gonna like literally have to show Abby putting in what makes her strong into another category, because that was
Yeah.
just such a big part of her character.
That's
Like
true. That's
Abby
true.
Abby worked out
yeah,
and did all of this heavy lifting for like 5 years, all for this one mission. Like her ultimate goal is, yes, to get to Joel. But in the game, she just spends so hard putting all of that focus
Pain.
into being a literal
Yeah.
machine. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
I
Yeah,
have a
I get
theory.
that.
Can we go into
Okay.
full game spoilers?
all right. All right. Dina, Abby, sexiest characters this. No, not
No,
Dina.
Dina,
sorry.
Pedro.
Dina, Pedro.
Yes.
We're all in
Yes,
agreement.
We're all in
absolutely.
I also agree. You don't want to
Would.
give this Seth guy a chance.
Speaking of
Republican
That's a
Seth
joke.
can get a pass.
Rose,
please.
as me in the chat said, Owen in the game had a very punchable face. Seth has the most punchable fucking face.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
partially because he's fucking old ass Republican guy, but yeah.
No,
all right.
would not. Yep.
All right, y'all. Yeah, let's move into it. So, I guess Kayla, if you want to put up a little
got you.
thing just to say, hey, we're talking about the game now. And we're comparing this episode
Spoilers.
to the game, and we're talking about what is going to happen beyond this episode.
Yep.
LFG.
Yep.
Spoilers for TLU 2 game.
Taylor.
So to finish my train of thought on Abby,
Yeah.
I have a theory. When we were watching, credits come up and Caitlin is only getting a guest star credit this season, which
Oh.
so I think that is I don't think we're going to get much of Abby at all this season. I think we're going to get next episode, and I don't know that we see her other than like we might get the spare flashback, but I think any flashback we get will be young Abby. Because we have seen that moment of her in the game coming into the hospital with the buzzers going off and her like eventually walking in to find her dad. So I think next week she's going to be all bundled up in her snow gear. And like, you know, we'll get the scene of her, like it'll be one of those things where we'll see a little bit of her outside of the jacket stuff, but I think we mostly won't see her muscles at all. And then season 3 is going to come around and I think she's going to be jacked. Now she's not going to have fucking tank arms like Game Abby does, because I don't know that Caitlyn ever can get that. Like, she's just small, but I think they're going to make an effort to make her seem like she's been training for 5 years to kill Joel.
It's a smart move. And
That's
I think even for Bella Ramsey, just, you know, a couple years in between really does help. Cause like, I want to keep the casting the same, but yeah, it gives her character some time to get into at least a little bit more of a buffer look. And I agree. I think that's a good prediction that we don't see any Abby arms this season.
Sure.
I disagree.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that more, Kayla.
Okay. I think it happens. I think Joel dies the next episode.
I think that I agree full on. And so we're going to see that. Like, that's what, when I kind of mentioned, like, we're going to see a little bit of her outside the jacket, which Rose in the chat says I'm always asking about outside the jacket stuff. I think because like we also in the preview for next episode, we saw her in that like gray tank top that we see her in the cabin.
Iconic.
But it's like a flashback,
iconic.
right?
Well,
like
so that's for
remember.
Like, that morning, the morning that everything happens. Okay, so we're going to get that. And we're going to get, I think next episode probably is going to be when it happens, or at least when it starts to happen. I still kind of stand by that maybe the next episode ends with the shotgun shot. And then
I agree.
Episode 3 is the gauntlet. But I think we're going to get very little of Abby's body so that season 3 we can see a much buffer Abby is my... Because to talk Hollywood a bit, not like an expert by any means, but as having some acting background, a guest star credit means something. Like it's a much different, it's a different pay scale. It's a different like amount of work that you get throughout a season. So only being a guest star, not being in like the full cast, I think they're sticking to the timeline. I think we're going to get, once we are done with Abby here, it's Ellie the rest of the season.
Ellie searching for
Squanky also mentioned, like, I bet we'll get like a couple of Abby flashbacks, but I don't think we're going to get any modern day Abby until next season.
Oh, okay. So you literally think we're going to get like either end of episode 2 or like beginning of episode 3, like the scene happens and then that's all we see of her.
And we're just focused on Ellie. Like going through. I think so too.
I think so.
Okay. And then we like maybe we do the flip or like the more deep dive, because also like if you're here and you haven't heard, like we did get confirmed for season 3. Like season 3 is happening. It's been confirmed. Yeah.
I mean, they can potentially like explore just like a few more like flashbacks with Abby, but I don't even think we might not even get this season, but that might be something they've already filmed. You know?
Yeah.
After she gets jacked.
Well, because there is precedence for that. Because the very, very opening moment of this season is stuff they filmed last season.
Yeah, which I was going to ask if we want to go kind of like in order of key scenes and like talk about the differences.
Yeah,
do we want to do that?
The first question I have here is just like going through like, hey, episode change from the game. Like, was it the changes, the things that we want to bring up? Did we like them? Did we not like this change? We sort of touched on those a little bit, but yeah, let's start from the top. If you have any specific scenes.
Well, I think like what Patrick mentioned is very interesting that we kind of get in again, I could not recommend enough listening to the HBO show really podcast.
I have not listened to it. So anything you can share will be news to me. So I just wanted you to know, like, I'm not in the know.
I mean, here's the thing. It's not the best Last of Us podcast on the market. You're listening to it, but it is very good Last of Us content.
Okay.
But with that being said, like the scene in the very beginning, opening scene where you get Joel and Ellie right after Ellie asked him, like, is everything you're telling me about the Fireflies true? And he says, yes. And she says, okay. And very clearly, like, you can see, if I was a unbiased audience member watching this, you can tell that she does not believe what she's saying and that Joel knows that that's not true, but they're just moving past it. Like, they're moving past it. And you don't get the reaction that he has to what she says. They cut off right at the game and the show. So the opening scene of them showing his kind of like face, like expression right after she says, okay, is new. and you get to see them kind of walking toward Jackson and their like next chapter, if you will. So what they revealed in the podcast was that they had already shot that footage of them, the kind of like next steps that they take, the expression that Pedro has. Like they did a lot of extra shooting, and then they decided they didn't want to keep it in the previous season. They wanted to cut it off just like they did with the game, and then continue on in the show with that as being the first scene, which you don't get any of that in the game, like his reaction very intentionally. But yeah, that was just an interesting tidbit. But any other thoughts on that?
It was funny in the podcast. There was some lively debate between Craig and Neil last season on whether we stick with the game moment or we add a little bit more. I think it's probably safe to assume Neil was saying stick to the game, and Craig was like, I want to do a little bit more.
Yeah,
and then the executive producer, showrunner, and creator of the HBO TV series says, "Okay, fuck you. I'll put it next season instead."
Yeah,
I think it's very funny.
High Score Weekly even shared in the chat, like, yes, my wife knows nothing about The Last of Us, but she was like, oh, Ellie knows he's lying. And that's, I think, what you need to know.
Yeah.
And to me, you need to know that because of what happens to him. And even though you don't know the full context, like knowing that she is lying to him and knowing that he knows that she's lying to him is very important.
Yeah. Like, and I think by starting with that, I do think that helps a new audience member to have some context about why they're beefing. That it's a safe assumption to think that, okay, something in the last 5 years came to a head about the lie, and we just haven't seen it yet.
Which, do we think, like, I know we're kind of bouncing back and forth, but like in the game, like we mentioned, so that's the opening of season 2 of The Last of Us, the very opening scene. The opening scene of The Last of Us Part 2, the game, is Joel confessing to Tommy that what he did and like coming clean. Do we think that happens in the show later, or do we think that they don't do that?
I don't think they show it. I think it's already happened, with the scene when Ellie is with Tommy, like shooting the gun,
which does happen in a flashback in the game.
But they talk about her immunity there, so like Joel has told him at this point, because he's like trying to tell her to be shh. So I don't think we get that.
It'd be redundant to do that because, we know Tommy knows. And then, like what I was saying earlier, but I was kind of dancing around it, that conversation that you just mentioned, Kayla, they take bits of that and put it in the conversation with Gail. Essentially, the end of that, is like Tommy was like, well, did you do the right, or like, I forget the line he sets Joel up with, but he says, I saved her, which is what he says to Gail.
There's so much blending. I think we're going to get a lot of that this season where certain scenes from the game, and of course I can't think of it right away, but I can. The market where Dina and Ellie are at in the show, different. It's the same patrol that they're on that ends
by themselves,
but moved in the timeline.
So it's taking things that we will recognize from the game, but it's just in different chronological order for the show. They didn't do a lot of that last season, so I'm interested to see like what other things we get from the game, but in a different context or with another character. You know?
I mean, the 3 that they've done so far that I can think of off the top of my head is the patrol happening the day before Joel dies. We have the dance being that, it still happens in the same moment of the actual story timeline. It's just different in the show's timeline. And then Kayla mentioned that the sniping training, that is also different.
That's technically a flashback.
Technically, it's a flashback, and it's not during winter, and it's like, but it's essentially the same thing. He's teaching her how to snipe, and they're also talking about her immunity then, and like, so it's the same vibe, just which I think works for me.
Yeah, and so really quick before we get too far, like the cold open with Abby, I think we need to talk about that a little bit more, where we get Abby and her crew. So like the stuff with Joel and Ellie happens. We get the cold open with Abby. We've kind of all talked a little bit about how we felt with that, but I just feel like the way that the game does it, where you meet Abby and you're playing as her, and you get introduced kind of knowing nothing about her history with Joel, like nothing at all. Which, by the way, did you guys watch the end credit scene where Caitlin Dever literally reveals her dad?
Oh my fucking God.
I was like, I remember I looked at Audrey, I'm like, do you think they didn't mention her dad died in that episode? But
was beside myself that they let that slip through.
I think that's definitely a definite accident.
They fucked up on that.
Yeah. She said, "Oh yeah, with dealing with losing her dad." I'm like, what?
Well, that's why. So I was kind of again dancing around that earlier. We were watching with someone who doesn't know what's about to happen, and with that mixed with there's this fucking magazine thing that Caitlin Dever did, and like they're talking about how they're basically like they're not saying that she's going to kill Joel, but like there's just these marketing things that they're putting out that is painting a picture of Abby that is like people are starting to put the things together. Like, okay, it sounds like Joel's going to die because they're giving us a bunch of different pieces of context around this character now that. So it's like, I really, really, really do not like how
I hated that. I hated that. And so some people did not watch the after credits scene in the chat. So basically they do a behind the scenes every single episode. You should watch it because there's valuable information in there. But actually now maybe you shouldn't watch it if you haven't played the game.
If you haven't played the game, I would say don't watch it.
But basically what happens is you see Caitlin Dever talking about her experience, and then you get her talking about Abby as a character. And she literally says, like, okay, yeah, Abby dealing with the loss of her dad. And that is not talked about in the episode. And you don't know that until after she kills Joel in the game. And that's like the only thing they're keeping secret right now in the show. And I'm like, that should definitely 100% be kept secret in the show until it happens.
Yeah.
If not till the end of the season, maybe even next season, as to what her intentions were.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that shook me. I was like, what?
Yeah, I was very shocked by that.
So I do think like I understand because again, in the podcast, when we talk about the HBO podcast, Craig does mention no. In the after credits, actually, Craig Mazin mentions in the after credits saying that he wants to show the Abby and her crew as real people and like how they're affected by they purposely show them in Salt Lake to show the loss that they experienced. And they're standing there looking at the crosses. Abby hangs her firefly necklace on the cross, indicating that she is a firefly. And you don't know at that point, like who they've lost necessarily, but you know they're in the same location that Ellie and Joel were at when everything went down. So I don't have any problem with that. What I do have a problem with is them saying that they wanted to kill Joel immediately.
I think they showed and talked way too much for that scene.
Yeah, because you don't know any of that in the game. Like, you don't know any of that. All you know is that Abby is looking for someone and that she will stop at nothing to, like, find this person. And you don't know that she knows who he is until she is actively killing him. And you don't get why she's doing that until very later on. And I think that they should have showed them looking at the graves, acknowledging that they are fireflies, and that's it. Move on.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Agreed.
Agree?
Yep.
I agree.
Less is better with any knowing about Abby, I've decided.
Her intentions, yeah.
I also, High School Weekly in the chat is saying that we are getting upset about this in the post-credit scene, but we're also telling people that they should still watch it. But what I'm saying is, all of us that are listening here, we know how the game ends. We know everything about the game. So for us, I'm mad that it's spoiling it for people that don't know the story. I'm not mad that it's spoiling it for us because we know the spoilers.
Exactly. We don't care. I'm talking about people who watch it because people probably have.
Yeah.
That spoiled it more than the show has done it. It was just, I was like, I didn't want to at least know that until later. Like, even watching the first season, I was like, cool, this is going to be something that's going to be at least kept. This is going to be the big reveal.
Yeah.
The big thing that we feel
like High School.
We can align with Abby with as someone that's never played the game.
For sure. And yeah, Swanky makes a good point in the chat that they're probably trying to front load Abby info to try to give her character empathy. But I'm sorry, the way that like this story is going to go, the audience is not going to have empathy for this character. There is simply no chance they will empathize with Abby. Maybe they can earn that empathy back in season 3, but there is nothing they can do for a TV audience, in my opinion, to be like, you know what? I would have done the same thing, because we all love Pedro Pascal. We all love Joel and Ellie. I think it's something that, honestly, I think they should lean into it more, make her fucking hateable, and then try to convince us like they do in the game that Abby is someone that, you know, whether you agree with what she did or not, like, we understand her reasonings. We understand like why she did this. And, you know, some people end up liking Abby more than Ellie. Some people, like my wife, fucking hate Abby. She never got around to liking Abby. And I get why. So it's like, it's the trusting your audience thing. It's like, we're all going to come to our own conclusions. I feel like it would have been a much stronger choice to make the audience despise this character to try to get us back to liking her next season. Yeah, no. Swanky Joke has not changed the entire theme of the game. No. I feel like do exactly how the game did it, where we fucking despise Abby until about 12 hours into the game, and we start playing as her, and we start to understand. And like, for some people, they never get past that point, but for other people,
a lot of people do.
A few hours in, by the time you're with Lev going across the upper, like way up in the sky, you start to like, oh, I'm understanding this character more. I understand her fears and her, like, all these things about her past. So just do it then when it happens in the fucking story. Is what I'm saying.
I want us to go back and, like, even a couple weeks ago, we were doing like our predictions or whatever, or was that last week? I lose track of time in space. But I wonder. I went back and forth on Abby's reasoning for it happening, like to happen at the same time this season, because everyone's concern was like, oh, a couple year break's going to be too long to have the reveal that, or finally get an Abby season. But now, after having this first episode and just seeing how that feels. And even as someone that's played the game, didn't feel great, even for someone that's played the game, which doesn't make sense. But that is just such a big theme to the game of knowing the other side of things, where I'm a little nervous now. Like I sort of am leaning towards, man, I really wish they could have kept that to the very end and just make us hate her. And then we'd have to wait like a whole couple of years or a year and a half, whatever, for season 3. And then the first episode of season 3 is background of Abby and her relationship with her dad, like something like that, where it just does a 280. Like, I don't want to see any more of this. Imagine season 3 starts and that maybe is what we got this season, and just seeing season 3 start where we have just a whole Abby episode after this lady just murdered Joel, but then you're forced to wait 2.5 years to see what happens next, and it's Abby. Yeah. And your first 2 episodes is Abby. Like, you're forced to watch this backstory for this character you hate. Now I'm sort of leaning towards that for the show. But I trust them. I'm sure. I just don't know if that's going to land the same way. Once again.
I mean, look, it is our job on this podcast to discuss what we feel and how we would have done things differently. And that's exactly what we're fucking doing, baby.
That's what we're doing. Doing it the Joel way.
You know what I do like, not to segue completely away, but kind of, but I do like how they introduce Ellie in this season in the fight scene.
Yeah.
With the guy in the barn. Totally brand new, never before seen scene. And I really love, like, what they do say in the podcast later on is they wanted to show the evolution of Ellie and her skills. Because they wanted to show that like early on, like, she is more mature now. Which also is interesting how they jumped 5 years in the show, but only 4 years in the game, which is kind of funny, right? But anyways, so like, I liked that. I liked how in the show you're kind of getting Jesse's hesitance to put a lot of pressure on Ellie in a different way.
Sure.
Because Jesse would be like, your dad's gonna kill me, basically.
Yeah.
And Ellie's very much like, don't pull any punches. Why are you taking it easy on me because of him? And you get that a little bit differently in the game. But yeah, I really liked that scene, the opening intro to Ellie being her like brutally like beating the shit out of this grown man. I think that was interesting.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job. I know I've seen some criticism both in the Discord and online outside of the Discord of not buying this kind of growth of Ellie and her anger and her like maturity and that kind of thing. And I feel like this, for me, just about worked across the board. Like, I feel like it did a good job of showing her, like, I bought that she's older
I did too.
now.
Yeah, I did too.
I bought that she's stronger now, and I bought that she's had a rage building inside her that she's trying to deal with. And yeah, I was impressed with, because I feel like some of the stuff that they did last season with Ellie's character, I think of like episode 4 with when she like shoots the guy that is attacking Joel. Like some of those moments I feel like they handled in an odd way in season 1, and
it was like they forced a few
yeah
topics down, like to, for us to learn Ellie faster.
Exactly. And so now I feel like when we see Ellie doing some things later in Seattle, like, oh yeah, I know that she can fucking grapple people from the ground and can beat the shit out of them. And so yeah, it's I liked this a lot.
I did too. I think it was God, I had a thought and it literally just left me. Oh, and it was good. I just don't know what it is. Maybe it'll come back to me.
Sure, maybe. Was it about Ellie?
Yeah, it was something when we were
Jesse?
talking about something that you said that made me think of it, but then it just left me.
Sure.
Doesn't matter now.
Sure.
If it comes back, I might interrupt y'all because it might leave me again, and I'm sorry.
Please do.
Okay.
What do we think about the timeline change of the patrol? So having this, because like, yeah, having Dina and Ellie go out on patrol the night before, the day before, instead of the morning of. Like, I assume they're still going to go on patrol the next morning, and then maybe they just go straight to Eugene's, and like that's how we get some Eugene stuff, maybe. But that was an odd one for me, I thought.
I loved it because I actually because I literally played the game like right after. I like that you get the additional context of their relationship before they have their like intimate moment.
Sure.
Like, and so you get to see their kind of like partnership and their dynamic before there even is the barn scene. And I also like that you see less of like, it seems less important Jesse's involvement in the TV show.
Oh, sure.
And I know he's important. Do we think that
I have something?
Yes, go ahead.
It's heavily implied that everyone knows that Ellie and Dina like each other, including their conversation. Even, and we'll get to the dance in a little bit, but there's extra dialogue there between Ellie and Jesse.
Yeah.
Do you mean it's more obvious in the show than it was the game?
No, like, I mean, well, we're getting more in the show now versus what we did in the game. And it's just sort of cool to hear that even though we're seeing Jesse less, the conversation has been alluded to, like, oh my God, these two girls like each other. And then, and I think the whole town knows it, if that makes sense. And I'll wait till we get to the dance bit in a second before I have the little share. Like, it's a small bit of dialogue that's changed that makes me think, oh yeah, everyone knows that Ellie and Dina like
Let's
each
talk about
other.
it now.
Yeah,
sure.
Might as well. Let's go ahead.
And let me pull up. I have footage, y'all.
Oh my God,
one of my favorite scenes. This has been my favorite scene so far, and it might just be the favorite scene of this. I think it's probably gonna be the. Maybe we know something else that we'll see that's gonna be really super sweet too. But definitely so far standout scene on the show. Anyone want to fill conversation why I pull this up?
Well, yeah, because I feel like. Oh yeah, go ahead. Kayla. No.
I was just gonna say really quick before we move on from the last scene, we get. Why do we feel like we got Ellie's ex in person in the show
to build Ellie and Dina's relationship background?
I think
that whole
partially
conversation.
That. Yeah. I think partially that, and also that we're at some point, whether it's next episode or a flashback later, we're gonna get the tattoo stuff, and because Kat, her ex, is the one that does the tattoo, and so I think that's why we're seeing that, is that we're gonna see a little bit more of Kat.
Do we think that maybe we get Kat later when Ellie is explaining to Dina the chemical burn and like why she has, so maybe we do a flashback to that. But I also love, like, I mean, we stand like Kat's actress or actor is non-binary, which is cool.
Oh yeah.
And you know what I thought immediately when I saw them? I thought it was Lev's voice actor. When I saw them immediately, I was like, oh wait. And I was, no, it's not. But I thought that would have been cool, but maybe they'll save that for the actual.
Yeah, I bet I will be surprised if we don't get Lev's actor from the game as Lev in the show. I
mean, to me, it makes so much sense. Yeah. Which, I mean, I have thoughts on that after our sneak peek at the next episode.
Sure.
Or the rest of the season.
Sure.
Interesting. Also, they choose to do a dead bear instead of a dead moose, which they did in the game.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, good catch. I didn't even...
Because of barbecue. They had to have that cute line.
Jerica, don't think too highly of me. I literally played the game like right after. That's the only reason I noticed. But it is a change, which is interesting. And I do love Ellie's quote from in the show where she says, if you'd rather let the men handle it.
Yeah.
I was like, you go, girl. We love
Women in
we love
STEM.
to see it. We do.
All right, I'm resizing this. It's for some reason it did move, and I am upset about it. But whatever. All right, yeah, I got the footage played. Like, I found a video online, like comparing the game versus the show, and I think the dance specifically is scene for scene, and then there's just extra you don't get in the game. From the small dialogue between Jesse and Ellie before Dina comes up to them. You know, Ellie in the game says the same thing in the show, like, I give you 2 weeks before you're back together or whatever, or 2 days. I can't remember any time frames. But that was the same as the game. And then, but what's different about the show is that Jesse looks to Ellie and says, "Nah, I don't think so." And like looks at her a certain way as Dina's approaching. And I was like, Jesse knows that Dina loves her. Like,
Yeah.
He's like, I don't think we'll get back together. And
Whereas in the game, he says, "Did she say anything?"
No.
Like no, that's what he says in the
Ellie,
game.
Or Jesse, did he actually say, I don't think he says that. He doesn't say, I don't think so. What does he say?
No, in the game he says, because I watched the cutscene, I didn't get time to play through it because again, it's at the end of the game.
Yeah, what does he
say?
say?
In the game, he says, "Did she say anything to you?" Like,
okay, yeah,
like
that's what it
He's
was.
like, has hope. Yeah, he has like hope. Like Ellie's giving him new information. Like she's still into you.
But
So he's like, "Oh, did she say anything?"
Jesse doesn't see that, and
Right,
I think it's
exactly,
because
yeah.
he knows that Dina likes her. So, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then, of course, like as we're going through and like navigating the scene, yeah, all the just eye contact with them, and then Ellie like looking around. There's longer pauses in between dialogue, which I really liked. Like, it spent a lot of time with Ellie like looking around the room. I wish she would have still said like, I'm just a girl, not a threat, or whatever. Because it's in the show, it's just I'm a threat, or I'm not a threat.
Sure.
Yeah.
Saw a little change, not a biggie, but I was like, I just sort of like it. It shows Ellie thinks that, you know, I'm just a girl.
Sure.
But she's more than that. We all know it.
It's true.
I think they should be terrified of you is still my favorite line.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
It's all so good in the show.
And this is kind of a very small thing, but interesting. In the show, it's New Year's, but in the game, it's not. It's just like a dance, right? Or is it New Year's in the game?
I couldn't remember if that were the case or not. I at first I was like, oh, New Year's, that feels new to me, but then I started wondering if I was projecting that or if that. So I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah,
it's definitely winter, but I don't remember if it's specifically New Year's in the game.
And that's interesting. And then again, like towards the end, when we do get the like derogatory comment from Seth, it is so interesting to like see this before, because one of the key scenes at the beginning of the game is Ellie going into the bar with Maria and Maria making Seth apologize to Ellie. And you see all of that before this actually happens. I just think that's so interesting. Like the change in this scene being where it is feels very intentional.
Yeah.
And it is very interesting that it got moved to the because I think whenever our predictions, this was not in any of our like first episode
I thought this was going to be like last episode because it's so late in the game. But
anyone said it was going to be sooner, I know it was this bitch right here.
Sure.
I'm saying all the stuff's coming early.
Sure.
Santa is coming to town early, including all of these scenes that we thought were going to be at the end of the game. They'll be much earlier. Joel dies next episode. Watch it happen.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's happening faster than we thought.
Heroic Headgear said, "Do we get bigot sandwiches?"
I think we get bigot sandwiches.
I think we next episode.
That's like so iconic.
Yeah, I have thoughts on exactly where we pick up next episode.
I'll
say later.
I will say too, like the next bit, you know, I don't want to stop y'all. I want y'all to keep talking. But when we get to the point where where Joel's on the porch, I have something to say before you say anything, either one of you.
Okay.
Because I might have a perspective on it that might be different than what y'all think. Or it might be the same. But I don't want to risk like it not getting heard. And I want y'all to tell me how derpy I am.
High Score Weekly has a really good point. Musical shout out. The composer of The Last of Us, Gustavo Santaolalla, is a cameo as the band in the show, which is really cool.
Yeah,
I love that. I thought that was a really cool call out.
He's like sitting down with his little braids. Very cute.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And yeah, so that any other thoughts on the dance? Because I know this is a big like point. I do think it is interesting. Joel is a lot rougher in the
Pushes his
show
ass
than
down.
he is in the game. He doesn't push him.
No.
He literally just says
He
like
shoves him, doesn't he?
He yeah, kind of. But in the show, he literally pushes him over like completely. I thought that was really interesting.
I kind of get the vibe that I feel like they maybe wanted it to be more violent in the game and didn't, and just like saved on fucking production or something. Because it feels like, I mean, I don't know. I guess in ways they've kind of made this Joel a little more violent than game Joel, but I don't think like that much more like, you know, with last season. But, you know, it worked for me and I'm glad they did it.
Oh, it was doing it for me.
Before we get to the end too, like, Campo 63 just asked in the chat before, and I almost forgot about this. Y'all, it was called Future Days and we didn't even hear the song. What the hell?
Yeah, that was so strange to me.
Wonder why.
I feel like, I mean, the way that they describe it in the podcast was like you are looking at the future, like you're jumping into time with the 5-year jump. But like I do think it is interesting that we didn't hear the song. I think we still will eventually, but
I would have lost so much money in Las Vegas if I had made a bet on us having the guitar scene in this episode because they called it fucking Future Days. But,
I feel like that was shown in like the trailer that we saw right before it came out too.
Well, we're still going to get it. I just don't think it's going to be this. Like, obviously it wasn't this episode, but I could see it being next episode, or I could see that being because now the flashbacks are kind of all over the place.
It could be
Maybe
anywhere.
This is a flashback later in the season.
Anywhere.
Yeah.
Oh,
who knows?
I'm ready to hear Pedro sing. I'm ready to hear Pedro sing.
Yeah, me too. And let's go to that last scene though. I think or on the porch at least, because I think that in terms of comparing specific changes to the game, that's kind of the last. Not big one, but like a lot of the other moments are just totally new as opposed to changes.
Yeah, that's true.
I would say, okay, here's the thing I want to bring up to y'all. Yeah. We're all gamers here. We've all played the game. The last scene, you finally sort of get to see like Ellie had a conversation with Joel before he died. Yeah. And throughout the whole game, you're like, man, I really hope that wasn't the last interaction they had was at the dance or whatever, or you know, Ellie they never got to reconcile before he died. And you know, we see this scene and it's if they keep with the game and keep it the same, they're supposed to have a conversation out on the porch, right? But we don't get that in the show. We didn't get that this episode, and Ellie sort of stops and just walks on over to her garage. So my question is, do y'all think they leave that out, or at the or right after, is it the last episode, or you know, whenever Joel dies, they wait till the last minute to show you, look, they did have this conversation before he died.
The series finale, Patrick's official prediction, the series finale, the last scene. In the preview, they remind us of this scene of the first episode of season 1 where Ellie walks by her and walks by him and just looks at him. And then she's going to go to her fucking garage. She doesn't open the door. She turns around. She walks back into the porch and they have the final conversation.
That's what Leanne Weaver said.
Fucking book it. That's how the series is going to end.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Because you can't, that's something like I know, like Swanky was like, you have to put yourself in the perspective of someone who hasn't experienced this story. With sometimes like with the criticism, that is a moment you cannot change. I think.
Yes,
I think
I agree.
Because I think like kind of puts the nail in well, I guess it's not going to be like the final moment, because the final moment is Ellie walking off into the sunset. But like that's the last kind of big beat, is right before she then walks out and goes into wherever the fuck she goes. But I think that's going to be how they're going to do that, like they do in the game, for sure.
I love it. I hope, please God, of all the changes we've had, though, I've been okay with it, but I really want that to stay the same. And I think that just hits home so much harder with... God, that scene is so good. It's so good.
I think that was a little teaser for us, the gamers. I think that was a teaser for us.
I was losing my mind. I was in my notes, was like, you can't... be fucking real. They're about to do this conversation in the season 2 premiere, and then there was like, oh, thank God.
Yeah, I think that was on purpose, very much for us.
But it gives everyone else that hasn't played the game. They're gonna think that's the last conversation. It's actually the lack of conversation, and that altercation is the last thing they They have no
it's
resolution.
a really strong addition of like, and
good.
then
God.
showing Pedro being really disappointed that they didn't get to talk and that Ellie wasn't. Yeah, I think that's a really strong addition.
Get the tears ready, everyone.
Oh,
and don't worry,
yeah.
I've already got them. I got enough for all of us in
Correct.
case you guys don't have any. I cried this last episode and nothing even happened.
Y'all, I also think spores are in the pipes. I think that's what was teased.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the tendrils for sure.
It's gonna be spores.
I feel like that was, yeah, I mean, they
No,
showed
you
us
think they're going to
twice.
change it to be spores?
I think they're going to change it to be spores, and that's how they get into the ventilation and shit. And then Jackson becomes overrun. Like that might be a change they make because like the piping is in the city, right? That's from what
for
I
sure.
heard.
Should we change to how we feel about looking forward? Is that way?
Sure.
Is this the segue?
That's perfect because like that wouldn't been hinted at and at all. It was such a here's the next ominous thing to look at in the next episode. And you know, I was just curious to like, we saw in the trailer all of the horde of clickers like showing up at Jackson's fence or whatever, and I'm like, that's not in the game. What the hell is happening here? Which still doesn't make sense because if it's inside of Jackson, they would be on the inside. But I'm just curious if like, I think the tendril things like in the piping, I think it's growing into spores because in this whole episode they're focused on the stalker and the clickers evolving. Who's to say like that's going to be the evolution we finally get spores? Because I think it's going to be this. I think it's going to be in this season.
I don't think we will. I think
we do. I think we do.
My reason being, they've been really loud about, like High School Weekly saying in the chat, they've been really loud about
the masks, like having to wear masks. In scenes.
And but I would love the change, honestly. I think the tendrils is going to be, because they showed us in the preview that the siege on Jackson seems to be coming both from the outside and the inside.
Yeah.
Or at some point at least. So I think the tendrils are going to infect somebody, which is going to then start spreading around Jackson and people, and it'll be kind of coming from all sides for sure.
Rabbit 128. That's what you think is going to happen. Taint ticklers. Imagine pooping and that sneaks up in your poop
in the pipe. Can I say one quick thing as far as I love this is the segue, by the way. The quote that I don't want to miss is from the council meeting where one of the council members says, "Reality is just a collective hunch." And I thought that was a really good quote because Maria says that she has a hunch that something's going to be happening, which I think is a good segue into this conversation. Like Maria feels uneasy, and I think that the conversation is really intentionally placed as well with Pedro not wanting to let people in.
Yeah. And
I think that Abby comes to them, and I think they let Abby and her crew into their space. And then I think that they come into their space. They let them come in because the horde is coming from the outside. But then I think like while Abby and crew are inside of Jackson, there's something that happens like inside and that like creates chaos. And then also I think Joel dies like all at the same time. I think it's an absolute crazy like fest of activity. But yeah.
I was wondering if when Joel and Maria are having that scene about, which I thought was so funny, the constructometer line, but I was like, oh, they are kind of like having this band of refugees coming in. I wonder if that is Abby's group. Obviously it wasn't, because they show at the end of the episode that they're, a mile outside of the city or whatever. But I do, because like there's been some screenshots that make it kind of look like at some point Abby is inside Jackson, but but then there's the scene of her like running and jumping away from the horde onto what looks like the wall of Jackson. So I don't know. I'm kind of turned around a little bit on how that would happen, but I wonder if she ends up getting into Jackson during the siege as opposed to before the siege. And then from there, things are happening. I don't know. But I still kind of feel like Joel, because there's also in the preview, there's Joel speaking to people over the radio, like trying to get in touch with Jackson, which I interpreted as him being wherever he is, that he runs into Abby's group. But
like the lodge.
Like the lodge.
But
yeah, I don't know. I'm very interested to see how all of that goes down, because I could see, like in the review that we talked about last week, there was this line that made it seem like they kind of downplay that scene a little bit because so much other stuff is happening. So I'm wondering if it happens like right in the middle of the siege instead of like it being its own thing. I don't know. I'm very interested to see.
Yeah, and High Score Weekly agrees that does seem like a setup for them letting them in. And then Leanne Weaver says, and then she takes advantage of the confusion and the attack and kills Joel.
Yeah.
But I do think that could not necessarily play into what they kind of do as a big plot point in the game, where it's like Ellie needs that revenge and no one else is really on board with her except for Tommy.
Right.
So I do think like Tommy has to be there when it happens, and they may do that differently. I don't know. But as of right now, my prediction with how they open the next episode is I do think that they do have Ellie and Dina do a run on their own. And I think that they do follow a little bit of the pipeline of when they happen upon like Eugene's weed den.
Yeah.
Because like you have to have their little moment.
I don't know how they're going to do it though. Because like there's literally more scenes of Dina and Joel together than Tommy and Joel for the like on horse anyways. I've seen them on horse more than
we have that's
and I don't know what that's
We've
from.
seen all of them.
Here's the deal. I don't really know it. I don't know. I couldn't tell you, which is just I think they're doing a good job because I personally am like I don't know what's going to happen.
I have an idea. Maybe they go on a group thing where it's Joel, Tommy, Dina, and Ellie, and they get separated. Potentially.
Sure.
Okay.
Where Ellie and Dina end up at Eugene's like weed den or something like that. But that does make me not 100% think that's going to happen, because I do think the nod to Eugene in the weed is like when he gives the weed to his wife, Gail. Like I think that was maybe like their little nod. I don't know, but I do think you need that like
he's getting his own episode. He's getting his own episode, right? Who's to say
not
that can't
not
have
a full episode?
That's not confirmed.
It's not? Okay. I thought it was.
We thought he has an actor that's cast as him, though, right?
They've said there's an interview that, yes, Craig Mazin is like, we're going to take detours like we did with Bill and Frank, but just none of them are going to be as big as a full episode.
Okay. Oh, cool.
Interesting. High Score Weekly did say that for the game trailers, they had put fake scenes with Joel that didn't exist. Would they do that again for this season?
That's true. They've replaced Jesse coming to Ellie with Joel coming to find Ellie.
I knew that about the game, but I didn't consider them doing that for the show too.
True. They could definitely do that. I kind of thinking about how they've moved some other things around the timeline. I could see a world in which it makes sense for the Ellie and Dina coming across Eugene's weed den as they are leaving for Seattle, as opposed to it being the morning of everything going down.
I just don't know if Ellie's going to be in the mood after all that. You know,
that's what I was about to say. Like,
yeah, that's true. That's true.
Like they're sort of in the moment before everything goes to shit. So.
That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm barely in the mood even when everything's fine. So just depends on the night.
Sure.
So
from your mouth to God's ear, brother.
If my surrogate father just died, I'm not banging. Unless that weed was super, what do they say, dank. Super dank.
I don't know that if it was super dank that you'd want to fuck.
Yeah, that's true. You might just want to go sleep, but you're still making a normal day anyways.
Also die. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. If they keep the bit about them, making out and getting in their undies, then it probably should be tomorrow morning as opposed to a few days later.
And I think they'll want to build their relationship a little bit more, because like we do see them kiss and we see like Ellie's still kind of like, what the fuck is happening?
Sure.
Like she's like, is this real? So I think they'll need that little bit of layer of security before anything else happens. But I did want to just like pinpoint, are we okay to maybe talk a little bit about, did you guys watch the coming next, like at the end?
Yes.
I watched it very quickly. So
we get Seraphites, like 100% get Seraphites. Like we get like a shot of what looks like the mother.
Not next episode though.
Yeah, this is just like in the future, kind of like, it's
not.
Oh,
we saw Mother?
She looked like it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't mean to play that.
It to me.
I was about to pull back because I can actually.
It looked like it to me.
I can actually play it while you're pulling up those. If you took notes on that, perfect, because I don't have any. So.
I did, yes. So we see a lot of Seraphite stuff, and this is again just like looking to the future, not necessarily next episode, but we also see like a lot of WLF stuff. We see a lot of that. We also see, I think this is a very important key scene, which is why I bring it up now when we're talking about Dina and Ellie. We see Dina asking Ellie what she wants to do, and see her like, and the body language is giving like, I'm ready to do whatever you want. Like, what do you want to do? And to me, this is very like on par with how it happens in the game, where after Joel is killed, Ellie is wanting to take action where other people are hesitant, like Maria and Tommy. Tommy's on board, but Tommy's also like a little bit more reserved, like trying to think things rationally, which who knows now with him having a child, how that will impact how he feels about everything. But Dina saying like, what do you want me to do? I think is like very on par with what she does in the game.
Yep.
So yeah, any other thoughts about like this? I think like feel her love. Like, I don't know if you saw that like scene on there, but like to me, like I'm very curious for what that means.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely it seems like they're gonna keep the kind of like martyrdom of the mother, whatever they called her, in the game.
Yeah.
I'll be interested to see if we see her more. That would be interesting. But yeah, we definitely, I was surprised at how much of the later in the season bit that they showed a lot of WLF / Seraphite
allegedly
business.
later in the season. Maybe it's sooner.
Sure. I mean, it's not going to be next episode. That would be shocked. I mean, it could be, but I was surprised at how much of the coming this season was that stuff and not Abby or Ellie, Dina stuff.
Yeah.
But because I could see like if I didn't, I was like, what's all this? What's all this other stuff? Like, I'm confused about all these places and all these new characters we've never seen before.
Which could be misdirect for Joel's death.
Could be.
That's the thing. Like, it could be like people who don't know, like, who might be like, oh no, like their relationship is kind of like up in arms. Like, what does that mean?
And they definitely in that preview have a couple times where they show Joel out in the field, which is probably flashback stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
Yeah.
Because he also like looks a little bit younger too, like in some of those scenes. I'm like, flashback.
Oh, not ready. And then we have, and again, and this is in the after credit scene where they're talking about the making of, where I forget if it's Neil Druckmann or it's Craig Mazin, but there's a direct quote at the very end that is, who the heroes are and who the villains are is based on where you're standing.
Yeah.
And that is how we end.
That was Neil.
The episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's like the basis of what we're talking about here. I just think I think that they're reminding us their vision, and I think that we see that like soon, potentially.
Sure.
I don't know.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know. I don't know.
We need final predictions. Though,
is it Sunday yet?
I can't even predict. Yeah, I felt like the episode was way too short. I needed like an extra 15 minutes. Come on, give it to us. Give us an hour and a half.
I needed an extra 15 minutes. I needed an extra 10 episodes for the season.
Yeah, I'd rather take that for sure.
Yeah.
Anywho.
Any final predictions before we reveal our winners?
Fuck, I don't know. I'm gonna keep saying that. I don't know, but all I will say is like I'm definitely leaning towards Joel dying sooner rather than later, more so than the middle of the episode now. Like,
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what we didn't do, and I'll be really fast, was compare it to our predictions episode of episode 1. We were pretty in line. Like,
were we?
We were. Let me pull it up real fast. I won't share it because I don't.
At least
have
both of you were. Probably not me. I was like, it's going to start with the museum scene. So I've definitely wrong.
Sure. But we said a lot of like Jackson things, showing like introducing us to new folks around Jackson and that kind of thing. Getting the patrol of Dina and Ellie, therapy with Catherine O'Hara, introduce Abby, her crew, their journey. But then we were like, how far back did they go? Are they going to show like? So we were like half right on that one. So we mostly nailed it. I think that what we were more wrong on was later stuff in the season that happens here, like the dance and like that kind of stuff.
I mean, how could we have known?
Right. Truly, how could anyone have known?
Yeah.
So far, swinging pretty successfully on predictions.
And then Patrick, didn't both you and I say, I can't remember if I fully committed to episode 2 or episode 3. hurt to death.
I didn't write down what we.
Y'all,
but
y'all
I
felt it like later in the season.
Well, I think my official
wasn't it?
prediction was
No.
ending episode 2 with the shotgun to the leg, starting episode 3 with the murder. I think was my
Yeah.
official stance.
Yeah,
but I
I don't
can
know
see
why-
it that being just all next episode at this point.
Yeah.
Shit,
agree.
I don't even remember yesterday.
I think you
So,
said- I think you
what
said
did
4.
I think
say?
Jerica said episode 4. I think.
I think you said 4.
4 feels
or
right to me.
5.
Well, after this first episode, it's going to be sooner rather than later.
Sure.
I agree. To hit us really in the gut punch feels.
It's going to be slowly. It's going to be
Very good callback.
Slowly. Okay.
Do we want to reveal our trivia winner?
I think we do.
Yeah.
Let me know when you need that wheel, girl.
Well, first we're going to go over
I think start
our
prepping it, it
questions
sounds like.
really quick.
I
We're going
will
to go
prep
over
it,
our
yes.
questions, and we're going to go over our first winner, who is unanimous. And I'm going to have to pull up exactly what question this person got wrong, because dare I say that no one got every single question right, which does
Ooh.
go against our initial rules of getting every question right. But I think I have a soft side to me. Let's just be clear. And we wanted to say, okay, whoever gets the most questions right, we will give them the win. And we picked 2 winners of our Instagram story trivia leading up to the release of the season 2, episode 1 premiere, where we did 10 questions and we asked you to get them all right. And we will give you a free exclusive merch item for these 2 winners that we're about to share. So question 1 was, what year did The Last of Us game first release? And we decided to start easy with, you have 4 options here. Most of our audience got them right, 2013 being the correct answer. Question number 2, what year did season 1 of the HBO show release? 2023, which feels like forever ago now. Question number 3, what day did the outbreak start? And this one was the first one where we started to have a little bit of people get lost. The correct answer is September 26th. We did have a couple of people fall for October 11th. Not sure why, but that's okay, And then question number 4, which is where our winner got their one loss. And this one was a little tricky. This was Patrick's question that he kind of threw in. Which of these 4 characters was only in the show, but not in the game? And this one might need a little bit of explanation, but here's the options. Tess, Perry, Frank, or Sam?
Sure. I was
Which of
hoping to get people with Frank, which is wrong because Frank was in the game. He was just dead in the game already. But he was very, you can't argue that he wasn't in the game because he was. But Perry, the fun fact about Perry, he was added into the show, as was Kathleen's character. Perry is the voice actor of Tommy from the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So they gave him a
little
chance.
trick question. That's a good one,
Yeah.
Patrick.
Yeah.
We love a
little
trick question.
Good one.
So a lot of these up to this point were like you could Google them and get the answers. So we
Sure.
wanted to make sure we were weeding out
Yeah.
unintended,
Yeah.
some of the contestants. That was our winners. One question that they got wrong. Question number 5, we have, what is the name of the comic book series that Ellie reads? Here's the options. Endure and Survive, Savage Starlight, The Walking Dead, Stargirl. And Savage Starlight was the correct answer.
Yes.
Endure and Survive was a very good trick that I threw in there.
Very good. Very good.
And then we have our very own question number 6, Jerica, a personal question. Jerica has The Last of Us tattoo. What is it of? And that requires you guys to know us a little bit and maybe go stalk Jerica's Instagram.
It's Ellie and Dina
Ellie-
making out on my butt cheek.
God. I wish.
It's on my Instagram. You can see it. Just kidding. That's a joke.
At Jerica. It's Ellie's tattoo. Jerica has Ellie's tattoo on her arm.
But in a different spot. Not on my butt.
Yeah.
Not on her butt. That would be a good move, though. And then in question number 7, what day did the first episode of ClickerBait come out? That was a little bit of fishing to get you to go look at ClickerBait and make sure that
Maybe while you were there, you
Hey.
subscribed, left
Yeah.
a review, liked
Beautiful.
it.
Incredible. A lot of people got this one wrong. So you didn't go look. I feel like this was easy. January, in case you were wondering, it's January 9th, 2023 was the first day that we came out with the ClickerBait, because Jerica and I yapped on JK Games a lot before we actually made a dedicated show for it. Question number 8, which of the ClickerBait hosts played The Last of Us first?
Also a trick question.
Also a trick question, and it did require a little bit of listening to the previous episodes of ClickerBait. Both Patrick and Jerica were the correct answer because both of them played it at launch.
Day one, baby.
Day one. Jerica got the unanimous vote, or not unanimous, the majority vote. If you answered me, you were definitely wrong because I played it a lot later.
We've told that story like 3 or 4 times, which
we sure have.
You need to listen to more of our episodes.
Call them
I'm
out.
just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm not going to call them out. Question number 9. What sport does Joel teach Ellie on the road in Colorado? This one was really hard for people. This one got the unanimous wrong answer. They're pretty much the only one. Football is the correct answer,
Yes.
but most people voted baseball.
I
didn't know
which is
that one.
interesting.
I actually didn't remember that one.
I didn't either.
I
Patrick knew.
died at you putting pickleball as an option. I thought that was so fucking funny. But yeah, it's in the game and the show. Because the specifically, it's like, so you finish it and then you go back to first down is like the thing that kind of the line that, yeah. But yeah, and to clarify, High School Breaker said, I didn't know you could pick 2 options. You couldn't. It's just that both Jerica or Patrick were acceptable answers for the last one.
Aha.
Exactly.
That was the trick.
Exactly. And then, so pickleball was an option. Can you imagine Ellie and Joel like whipping out some pickleball?
Yeah.
So,
So what you can't go in the kitchen? She asks Joel, which is a pickleball joke.
that's funny. I don't know pickleball.
That's a great game.
And then lastly, question number 10. What are Joel and Ellie's dream jobs? Which is sheep rancher and astronaut, which most of you got right, which I love. So now before we do the wheel, I'll reveal our first winner. Drum roll.
Drum.
With 9 out of 10 answers correct. The French dip design is our winner with the most answered correctly.
We said you designed the logo, but you had to earn the shirt.
Yeah.
Which we will be asking them which one he would like, and we will contact them separately, which I don't think he's been on here today. But the only one that he missed was the Perry and Frank, which I understand. It is a little bit like a tricky one. But then we had a couple of people. We had 1, 2, 3, 4 people specifically get 8 correct. And that's what we're going to spin the wheel for right now.
Who were those 4 people, Kayla?
The 4 people that got 8 correct were the Big Wolf Yorkie. I always forget how to pronounce their name. Blaster Goblin.
Blaster
Tyler
Goblin. He returns.
Oh, yeah,
He's everywhere.
He's
Saw him in the
James
flesh
Bay.
this weekend.
Yeah. Jerica's got a whole experience she's got to tell you guys
Blaster.
about. Oh my gosh.
I met Miss Goblin also.
Oh,
I did.
how
Whoa.
fun.
It was cool.
And then Tyler James Bay and the Dan Good Show all
about
got
that?
8 correct. High School Lucas said, I didn't want the prize, but I want the clout.
Yeah, he's having a little temper tantrum in the chat. Apparently, he got 9 out of 10, and we're not giving him credit for that.
Which is so funny because he literally told us not to include him in this, which is why I don't have you down here. But shout out to High Score Weekly for having amazing tea. Use code ClickerBait for 15% off at leaningteafarms.com. And also got 9 out of 10 right. I don't know which one you got wrong, actually. I'm very curious.
I mean, for the record, I think I got 10 out of 10 right. And I didn't even look up when ClickerBait started, and I'm not throwing a little, but I also have a shirt.
Oh, that's true. But all
And
that
I
to
came
say,
up with half the question.
let's spin the wheel to see who wins our second prize.
Spin it, Kayla. Can you do like a little spin motion? Cool.
I'm not watching live, so you guys will have to say who wins.
Here we go.
Oh shit! Is it stopped on Blaster Goblin? It did.
Wow.
Whoa! Blaster Goblin, our second winner. Well, who's to say when we might not do this in the future? So you should follow us on Instagram, JK Games Podcast. And then also, who knows, you may be able to just purchase this merch.
You will
in the
be able
future.
to do that quite soon. Hopefully next week. That's my goal. Is to
Interesting.
have
But these two
our stuff up.
these two people will get it a little bit early and we'll get it for free. So thank you all for participating. And this was a fantastic episode. I can't wait to do it again.
And we'll be in touch for you too.
Yeah.
We'll be in touch. I will send you separate messages personally and we will get your merch figured out.
Yeah, I got Blaster Goblin's number, so we can send him we can call him. We can call him right now and let him know he won.
Maybe we could.
Wow.
It's from Kayla's phone, so he doesn't know who it is.
Ooh.
Be like, hello, you won some merch from ClickerBait, and I am the secretary of ClickerBait. Just go with
little boy.
I like that High School Weekly got the sports one wrong, which is very on brand. But thank you guys for watching. Any other closing thoughts before we end?
I don't know.
Can't wait for season 2, episode 2.
I don't know.
Do we have the name of the next episode?
I don't think yet. Do we?
I think so. Hold on. I saw it on IMDb. Hold, please.
Let's see.
It's one of
This
those.
is important.
It's one of those things. Oh yeah, that makes sense. But I just already forgot because my memory's just shit.
Oh yeah, I think we said a couple episodes ago, like that the name had maybe been leaked or something.
I don't see it anywhere.
Hold on. Hold your
Publicly.
horses. Hold your horses. I'm getting there.
Wait a second. Oh my god. If it's the Eugene episode, it's on 420.
Blaze it, motherfucker.
That's so funny.
Season 2, episode 2. No, but we have. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so not.
IMDb has episodes 3 through 7's names apparently,
shit,
but
yep.
not number 2.
Shit.
Should we talk about that right now, or should we say?
Yeah,
that?
let's talk about it.
So
Wait,
apparently,
give us.
episode 3 is Something's Got a Hold on Me. Episode 4 is Secrets. Episode 5 is Wolves. Episode 6 is Scars, and episode 7 is Every Last One of them.
This is a clue. Next episode
Episode 2
is
Joel's
where
dead.
he dies. Yeah, it has no title.
100%.
The title's going to give it away.
title?
What is
The
it going to
title's
be
going
called?
to give it away.
Golf Club. It's the name of the episode.
No. I'm trying to think of a line that Abby says to him.
Slowly.
Maybe slowly.
You
or
don't get to something. You don't get to get through this.
You don't get to
fast.
rush this.
You don't get to rush this. That's it. Woo, that's it. She wants it to go slowly.
Yeah. Slowly.
I don't know why I talked into the camera. That's not where my mic's at.
So yeah,
Also,
going
the
back.
Masters is this weekend.
Oh,
which is
yeah,
really
for
funny.
sure. Well, yeah, it just happened. So this goes back to the original theory of having Mark Mylod come in for the episode that Joel dies. So
Dang.
it's all
Sad.
coming together.
Look at that.
Unfortunately,
It's impressive.
we thought we could get past it.
We thought.
Hole in one.
Oh my god.
Oh my god,
Can you
it's
imagine?
so bad. I just replayed it. It's so bad.
Yeah.
I
It's
thought you were
horrible.
saying the joke. Yeah, I know it's bad.
No,
But
no,
that's
no, no,
also
no, no.
bad. No, the joke was bad. Just that might be worse, but yeah, the joke was still bad. Okay.
Oh,
Late
I'm
from lunch.
scared.
Today I learned Joel dies.
Oh,
Well, we had spoilers up.
You're
If that's
fine.
true.
did.
If you're
5
not
years
yanking our chain.
later.
wow.
All right.
That's really unfortunate. Well, folks, we'll see you this time next week.
Let's go. Let's
Who knows
go.
how I might cry on camera.
Let's
might.
go. Let's go. I hope it's brutal and
Me
slow.
too.
I like that. That sounds sort of.
That's
Oh,
a
no.
fun
gross.
cheer right there.
I don't know
Stick
what-
around. We might pay it forward after we end the evening. But for now, stick around. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.